Greetings, Mike Titlebaum here again to help out learning improvisation. We'll be making music, so make sure to have your instrument and your voice ready to go. In the first video, we learned about neighbor tones. Then in the second video, we learned the song When the Saints Go Marching In, along with a simplified, distilled version so we could vary its rhythms systematically. The next series of exercises is to combine these, embellishing the distilled melody of When the Saints Go Marching In with neighbor tones, using a few different permutations. In order to practice this, let's first review the distilled version from the previous video. Like before, in addition to treble clef, there are transposed versions for E flat, B flat, and bass clef instruments below. Okay, play or sing along.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now we'll embellish this distilled version of Saints using the same neighbor tone patterns as from the first video. We'll start with upper neighbors. For each half note in the distilled melody, we'll add upper neighbors, and they'll all be diatonic neighbors. In other words, each will go up one note in the scale, then come back to the previous melody note before going on to the next melody note. All right, play or sing along.
1, 2, 3, 4.
How well did you do? If you need more practice, scroll back and do it again. In fact, I encourage you to see if you can complete the exercise without reading it off the screen. It's a repeating pattern, so you might be able to do it just by figuring out what all the different neighbors are. Okay, on to the next one. Now we're going to add lower chromatic neighbors to the distilled melody. This neighbor gesture goes down just a half step from each melody note, then returns back to the same melody note before going on to the next one. Okay, play or sing along.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now let's ratchet up the challenge level a little bit. The next exercise will be to add double neighbors to the distilled Saints melody. Double neighbor embellishments still start with each melody note, then include both upper and lower neighbors before returning to the previous melody note. We'll use the same neighbor tones as we did before. The upper neighbors will be diatonic and the lower neighbors will be chromatic. This double neighbor pattern winds up being quite dense because each embellishment lasts for 4 eighth notes. Therefore, we'll start by practicing double neighbors in 2 sparser ways. First, we'll add the double neighbor figure only onto the notes in the first halves of the melody measures, on beat 1. Okay, now you play or sing along.
1, 2, 3, 4.
For the second version of this, we'll add double neighbors to the half notes on the second halves of the distilled melody measures. They're the notes on beat 3. Get ready to play or sing along.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And now we'll add double neighbors to both halves of the distilled melody. This exercise ends up being quite dense, so let's practice it a little slower first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got the gist of it? Now we'll do it in tempo.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If you need more practice, scroll back and do any of those exercises again until adding neighbors feels comfortable and fun. To review what we've done so far, we started with a simple slow-moving melody comprised of half notes and whole notes, then added neighbor tones in several ways. Upper diatonic neighbors, then lower chromatic neighbors, then double neighbors, first on the first half, then on the second half, then double neighbors on both halves. I ended the previous video with an exercise where you freely embellished the rhythms of the distilled Saints melody. Similarly, the next exercise here will be to embellish the distilled melody by mixing up various neighbor gestures. To demonstrate, I improvised my own mix of neighbors and also varied the rhythms to make it more musical and fun. Then I transcribed it. Here's mine. Play or sing along if you like.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now it's your turn. Use the distilled melody as a starting place. Embellish around it, employing an improvised mix of neighbors. So you could use upper neighbors, lower neighbors, or double neighbors. And also vary the rhythms, adding syncopation to give it your own stamp of originality.
1, 2, 3, 4.
just like I did, I encourage you to record yourself doing these improvised embellishments, then transcribe what you just did. Then decide if you like the way it came out. If not, rewrite it to make it better, which then becomes something of a composed version. Then record yourself performing that version, then vary that version improvisationally, then record yourself doing that, then transcribe that one, and the cycle of creativity continues.